Welcome back. My name is Matt Reiners, and I am the co-founder of Eversound, a company dedicated to improving quality of life for older adults by giving them the gift of hearing. Today, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Terry Rogers. Terry is currently the president CEO of Westminster Communities of Florida, and I've gotten to know Terry on the conference circuit, and he's one of the most down-to-earth CEOs I've encountered. It's just overall a good person. So thanks for joining me today, Terry.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate those kind words. Down to earth. That sounds good.
Hey, you could pay me later for saying all the nice things. So,
Okay, I will. I'm good for it.
so Terry, can you share a little bit about your background and how you got into senior living?
Sure. I guess I'll go back to my first real job, which following college was with Upjohn Healthcare Services, which was it was really the first national home health company, and it was growing rapidly. And then through several mergers and name changes, later I fell into this role working with a division of the company that was managing hospital-based home health. I am through that I eventually moved into regional management, and then two little boys later, my sons Josh and Logan, I decided to try to get off the road and get to a less traveling position. So I talked myself into a CEO position for a somewhat struggling not-for-profit retirement community in Birmingham, Alabama. And I stayed there 16 years and experienced and learned so much about the field, from repairing regulatory issues to redeveloping a very old campus that started in the 1950s. And then through some innovations, I was the first to actually take the greenhouse homes that Dr. Thomas created. And I was the first one to build a multi-story greenhouse home there on the campus at St. Martin's in the Pines of Birmingham. We got into home and community-based services and a couple of joint ventures, and it was just a great time. But after being there 16 years, I looked at my wife and asked her if she was up for a new adventure, and that's when we landed the job with Christian Living Communities, Capella Living Solutions, their for-profit management company. We moved to Denver, and then a few years later had the opportunity to come back south where we wanted to end up eventually. So we moved to Florida, and here at Westminster Communities are just having a wonderful time. This field of senior living, I guess I fell into it by circumstance, but I, at this point, want to never do anything else.
I love that. And yeah, and I would imagine so, because you've been in this CEO role for, various organizations for over 20 years. And I'm curious because I know you've got to do a lot of recruitment for your team. And, a lot of our listeners are looking to get into leadership positions, especially in senior living communities. And I'm wondering, if there's anything specific you're looking for when recruiting for these leadership positions.
Yeah, man, I think there are. It's probably somewhat cliche, but I like leaders who know more than I do. So I do try to pick people who know more about their specific area than I do. My job is to be the generalist, not the expert in everything. I believe that the field of senior living, we need people, leaders who are technically skilled, but who also really understand that ours truly is a people business. This willingness to grow relationships, to care for each other, both team members and residents. That job of caring and knowing and creating strong relationships, that's job number one for whoever's on our teams. I think the right leaders then build the right culture. The right culture helps attract the best team members and keeps them engaged and happy. And we all know that team members who are happy and engaged make for happy and engaged residents. So it sounds like a simple formula, but it takes a tremendous amount of ongoing effort to keep that culture where it needs to be. And I think that's an exciting thing that I get to do. I know others kind of look at that culture thing as maybe a little too esoteric, too out there. But I think there are really very specific things you can do to create a culture where team members want to be and where they're going to be engaged, where they're going to work hard for the mission. And I think that's what we're building here at Westminster.
Yeah, I think it's super important. It's definitely an interesting opportunity in an interesting field where, like, the happier the staff is, there are then in turn making the residents happier. So yeah, and it's culture. I think it's so important too, right? It's kind of like the soul of a company and of a
Yeah,
community. And what are you doing to really amplify that?
right.
And so I'm curious, how do you think we do as an industry recruiting outside of the industry?
I don't think we've done a great job, to be honest. It appears maybe we're starting to see more and more leaders coming from outside senior living. I know that there have been some strides in the kind of maybe in the recent decade or so in bringing some hospitality uh, uh, people over, hospitality professionals over to our roles, maybe with some success. I know so for some specific positions and people I know, it's not been successful. It's just a very different model in senior living than hospitality. We also add that care component, and
Mhm.
people are living with us 24/7. It's their home, so it's a very different kind of mindset maybe than some in hospitality. I think there's probably going to be, and I'm starting to see people from way outside the industry, from other business, finance fields coming in to work in different roles. I think though, what we have to do is start getting these from other industries in who have specific ideas and things they can bring to the table in senior living that just aren't here. Uh, One thing, hospitality is a perfect example. One thing they do is they use data on a daily real time basis to help them in decision making and problem solving. And they are light years ahead of where we are in using real time data. Now, a lot of organizations, including ours, we're starting to really build these data warehouses and try to parse that data so that we get amazing dashboards in real time and we can really understand where our challenges are and where things are working well, so we can put most of our senior leadership toward solving the problems that are real. So we're getting there, but I think bringing in people from other industries could probably help us get there more rapidly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think at times senior living's kind of becoming an echo chamber of people that have been in this industry forever that, can be, it's got its pros and cons, but I think the opportunity to bring some people in with some of those fresh ideas and how they've been able to utilize data and innovation in other places will
Yeah.
only just kind of booster what we're trying to do here. Um, and I know you mentioned, some of the things you're looking for with leadership, like people that care and try to do right. I'm curious what you've seen for those coming into the industry from the outside. What knowledge or skill set do you think they need to learn the quickest?
Well, let me tell you what I've seen as the challenges that I've seen some people trying to
Okay.
move into senior living. That they first, I think people have this wrong belief that senior living is a very simple business. Those of us in it, we know very differently. We have some of the toughest regulations to deal with among any industry you can be in. We're facing this wave of this new consumer wave that's coming at us. Their expectations are higher and they're driving changes in our field across the board already because their parents have been living with us. And our need to pivot and to do new things is not really, it's not all that easy to manage. And I guess every industry says, yes, those same consumers are coming our way, but we have to remember that those consumers, when they move in, this is their home. So it's a 24/7, 365 days a year challenge that we have. So we really, when I say we have to pivot, we really have to pivot to meet the desires of the things that they want. And then you add on top of that, we're this battling of the harshest workforce crisis we've ever seen. We're trying to find this balance of where technology can interface with people to help us do our job, but where we can still create this sense of personal caring and this sense of home. It's just a very difficult balance to find. So, from regulations to marketing, to innovation to new service programming, I think there's a lot from someone outside the field to grasp. So, I think our challenge is to find those skill sets, those things. I think innovation's probably it. Maybe people from the tech industry, if we can get them to come over and they can make that shift to being people, number one, tech to
Yeah.
support that work that we do, then I think we could have some exciting opportunities but it's tough. It is tough. And I think that's what we haven't seen more and more people from other industries come over.
Yeah. I think, you know, there's definitely at times that my experience has been people coming from the outside in is they're kind of got senior living and they're kind of thinking about it in a negative connotation. And like, how do you really, change that? And like, it's not just numbers on a spreadsheet and you need to kind of go into these communities and like your whole perception can just be flipped on its head by visiting one community.
Well, I think,
Kind of.
yeah, the pandemic taught us that most of America thinks senior living is exactly what a nursing home is. They just
Yeah.
group everything together. And we have so much education, I think, to do to the consumers.
Yeah. I would completely agree. And so, we talked about recruitment, which is, of course, just one piece of the equation. And, one of the things I want to ask you about is retention. Is there anything you've learned over your years kind of steering the ship and being this generalist to help retain your team?
Yeah, retention is more important than recruitment.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more difficult as well. I believe that we talked about culture before. I think a strong culture centered, this culture that's centered around team members is a priority for retention, obviously. All the other stuff around compensation and benefits, they're obviously still important, but as organizations in our field typically have very similar plans, yeah, you can differentiate yourself with culture. We've taken here at Westminster, we've taken two approaches. One, we conducted a total rewards survey. So we asked team members what they want in a benefit plan rather than sitting in our offices, at benefit renewal time and saying, yeah, we'll just keep that rolling. We actually asked them, what is it that's important in your life? And what is it that your employer could perhaps provide in an effort to, bring wholeness to your benefit plan? And so we learned a few things. Vacation's important, affordable, obviously co-pays and deductibles and premiums on health insurance is important. Retirement benefit was important. So we've been making changes in our overall benefit plan to try to get a little more spot on as to what the employees desire. And then two, we've done a really thorough job in evaluating our culture by location, by business unit, so that we can use those culture scores and we can identify where we have strong employee cultures. And then we can take best practices from that location and then suggest it to another location. So every one of our business units, all of our companies, all of our locations have a culture score. And then we create these strategic culture plans for everyone, kind of a strategic action plan to improve the culture everywhere, including even in our corporate office.
Love that. And I think what you guys are doing is super important because you're almost creating this feedback loop, hearing from your team and what's important to them. Because I think at times, people like to work behind the closed door and they assume they know everything. And then I love how you're looking in real time too, just like the different businesses within these different communities, right? And the different kind of offerings and the cultures within those. That's important. And I love that you
Yeah,
guys are putting a strategy and it sounds like some sort of processes associated with that, which is
right.
great.
Very structured.
Love it. And is there anything you know now that you wish you knew when you were starting out as a CEO 20 plus years ago?
Well, I was first CEO at age 33, so it's been more than 20 years.
Okay.
I can say that I wish back then I had the wisdom that maybe comes along with experience. I think my biggest lesson and one that probably would have helped my course is that if you focus on your people, and I guess I'll say the culture too. I don't think we used culture so much back when I first started, but people and culture, then all the other things get so much easier. Business decisions get easier if you get the people on your team behind that decision first. So it's always been, I've always been an easygoing, you call me down to earth, people person. But as a leader, I think you have to know who you are, how to create those real relationships, get things done. It's part of servant leadership, which I've always tried to embrace. Westminster is a servant leader organization. It started that way, and it's part I think probably makes me feel so at home here. But I think this servant leadership, this opportunity to create relationships with people, is what makes my job or makes me successful in doing what I'm doing. And had I known that earlier, who knows what I'd be today.
Yeah. Right. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'll be 34 next week, so kind of on the other side of that age sphere. But my final question for you, Terry, and my favorite, if you were just to give other senior living providers three guiding principles as they think through like the next 12 months, what would you say?
Yeah, and our senior leadership talks about these things, these principles. What are we facing today, and what are the things? What are these values that can help us? And I think one is we have to continue to bring value. I think people, individuals to our team members need us to bring value every day. Obviously, our residents need us to bring value every day. I think the pandemic, and that's, that defines who we are today as an industry. The pandemic caused occupancy challenges and led us to this inflationary period that we're in. And I think as we get back to some sense of normal, I believe we have to make sure we're getting back to offering the value that so many residents moved into our communities to experience. And the pandemic took some of that away. And so we're trying to get back to pre-pandemic perceptions of the value that we bring to the consumers. And then I think on the innovation side, don't fear the disruptors. We want to be one of those. And as the population is obviously changing, we're going to see more and more competition from outside the field. We've been hearing it for years. Now I think we're actually beginning to see it. And I believe we can be part of disrupting the status quo that we've all created. And we can start now. And then finally, this is something I'm proud of our organization. We didn't slow down during the pandemic. I believe you have to seize opportunity. So our organization never stopped our building programs. We never stopped looking at acquisitions during the pandemic. And as we're coming out of it now, we are so well positioned with having pre-sold additions that we built during the pandemic to our existing campuses. We were able to buy a couple of large pieces of land, so we have some really exciting development that we're working on for new designs and opportunities in Florida. And then we are out there now looking in the long term. What we do is long term. We're long term holders of our assets and expanding our mission. And we have several organizations who have approached us to affiliate. So whether those happen or not, I don't know. It's too early to tell. But we are looking at opportunities to continue expanding our mission, touching the lives of other people through that mission. And that's why we exist as an organization. That's what our board of directors expect us to do as staff. And I think we're executing on that.
Amazing. So many golden nuggets within that. Thank you. I want to thank you so much, Terry, for joining us here today. And I just appreciate you and excited to see you on the conference circuit.
Yeah, I'll see you out there, Matt. Thank you for everything that you do.